Yo, what's up, boys and girls of the Mir Cult? Welcome to the MIRKURSE Predictions. Yes, but this time it's different, all right? It's not just random Mir cursing because we've got an actual analyst this time. We have Arashi joining us for the predictions of MPL Indonesia, so it won't just be my prediction. Now, Arashi, his pride is on the line. He's pressured as well because if he gets it wrong, he might have the better curse. Okay, Arashi, how you doing, my guy? I see you rocking that RQ jersey, my guy.
I see you rocking the Bigatron jersey too. I wonder if this was pre-planned.
It was pre-planned. Yes, we have to wear the colors of our of our teams, my dude. Okay, and this time I think for Arashi as well, guys. By the way, I'm a BTR fan. Arashi is an RQ fan, but for predictions and stuff, especially for like content like this, it is no bias. We will try to give you guys the most non-biased takes. But unfortunately, every prediction will be subjective to the person's perspective on how the game is played and how good teams play, right? So, yeah, I think Arashi, we're gonna start with you first because you're the guest here, and we have a lot of great matches. But let's start with match two. Normal people will start with match one. We're different. We're different. We'll start with match two.
Against the grain.
Yeah, and I'll start with match one later.
Why?
Yeah. All right.
For what purpose? All right. Match two. So Bigatron against Rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
Man, off the bat, no bias, right? But
No
man,
bias.
Bigatron, we had really high hopes coming into it. You know, we did the whole got did.
Mm-hmm.
What happened, man? This is concerning times for Bigatron with the changes and how they've been on a bit of a slump.
Mm-hmm.
I think the general momentum, the general consensus, like on paper, at least at first glance, I think Rebellion has it. But the thing is, right, experience generally, especially in a long duration in a high stakes situation like this, I think experience does shine through. And I think there's no way you can expect Bigatron to just to do nothing during this 2-week break, right? I think Bigatron has it. I think it's gonna be very close though. So I think I'll go and predict like a 3-2.
Oh, that for Bigatron.
I think so.
Ooh.
And I get the feeling that if they win, it's gonna be close. But I think if they lose, it's gonna be a smash, dude. I don't think it's gonna go
Okay.
even-ish.
So if it's let's say it is let's say Rebellion does win. Do they win with a score of 3-0? Is that the kind of stomp you're expecting?
I think it's 3-1 at best. If they do win, all right? If they can pull it, if they're gonna win, I think it has to be in that fashion. They have to be good enough to just completely smash. But again, if it gets close, then the experience, right? The craftiness, the flexibility and adaptation of Aldo is something to be feared. I think Coach Chico always has great ideas, but we see that when it gets complicated, right? When he's forced to try and find solutions on the fly, etc., we have seen that there are some things that we don't quite agree with. So I think that's where this prediction comes from.
Okay, cool. There you guys go. All right, so well for me it's a happy day for if that's it's a happy day for me, Arashi. If this actually does happen, right? Either way, if it's 3-2 or 3-1, but as long as it's BTR, no. But yeah, okay, cool. The experience does come into play, and I think for BTR the big question is who's going to be playing, right? Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Which roster? And even they're probably the only team to have this question raised against them. Who's coaching? Raise Boy, Fala, Aldo, right? We've seen Aldo, we've seen Raise Boy, we've seen Fala, all coaching, all drafting, all analyzing, and they've been swapping left and right. So I think if they don't figure out who's actually the main guy, the main team, yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. But you'll see my prediction later. Let's talk about match one this time, Arashi. Okay, Geek Fam, RQ's Kryptonite, I'm just going to call them that, versus Dewa United. This, by the way, before we give Arashi time to talk here for his prediction, this is the rock, paper, scissors bracket, ladies and gentlemen. RQ have beaten Dewa twice in the regular season, both legs. Dewa beat Geek Fam twice in both legs, and Geek Fam beat RQ twice in both legs. So this is probably the most volatile bracket, the upper bracket. Yeah, the match one, match three, right? Yeah.
Man, styles make matchups, and I think that's just the main point of this whole like bracket, right? Dewa is just very straightforward. They're great at execution, but if you try and match RRQ in those split second decisions, right? Those crazy split second plays. I think RRQ, that's why RRQ is just doing so well against them. But against a team that can just switch it up and be confusing and surprise you with very unpredictable things, that's where Geek Fam, I think, has really good strengths. So
Agreed.
I don't know, it's almost like RRQ, because they have some experience, they do adjust a bit against their opponents. Whereas Dewa, it's like, whatever you do, we do our thing. And that mindset, I think, is what lends them to like get just, they just can't really match up to Geek Fan because of it, right? They just keep staying at one way. So, oh, I don't know, man.
This is tough.
Obviously, we go with the whole like rock paper scissors mindset. I guess we wish that Dewa moves up, right? Not Geek Fan. But I think there's no way. I think Geek takes it.
You think Geek takes it? Okay.
Yeah, with the way the meta is shifting, and with there's been a lot of heroes we've been seeing, right? In this
Beloy's
past
heroes?
like 2 weeks, 2 week breaks. Not just Beloy, it's just there's a lot more ways to play around. There's a lot more tools available in the meta, and I think that factor just really lends itself to Geek Fam and how annoying they are and how they play, etc. So I think Geek takes it for 3-1.
3-1. Okay.
3-1. I think there's no way Dewa don't find one of those moments. And I feel like if Geek is going to win it, then I think they have to be solid, right? The whole idea about Dewa is that you let your guard down. They always do the same thing, but they do that one thing very consistently, right? You don't see them make too many crazy mistakes in the middle of those team fights. But which is why I think if they're gonna what's it saying? If they're gonna like I'm blanking out here.
For Geek Fam, if they want to, are we talking about Geek Fam or Dewa? Dewa.
Yeah, for Dewa, they're very consistent, right? So if they're gonna
Try to win
lose,
it. Okay.
if they're gonna lose, then like I think it's gonna be more decisive, you know? Because
Ah.
if they are on point, then on paper they should kind of like do better, kind of,
Okay. Okay.
you know?
So if they do good, they're gonna be doing really good. Like they're gonna be on the other end of this 3-1.
Exactly, yeah. I think it's a bit of a hit or
Okay.
miss with Dewa, right? If they are that good, if they are just outmatching Geek Fam in execution that far, then this should be like dominant in the other direction. Yes, that was what I was trying to say.
Okay.
Sorry for the whole like bleep.
No worries, no worries. A very volatile team. Yeah. I think it's a good way to put, great way to describe Dewa United and the way that they've been winning matches in the regular season as well. It's one of the reasons they were able to beat Geek Fam, right? A team who is also very volatile. But if it's Dewa's day, it's Dewa's day. They stop, they win, even with that like crazy pick-off style, team fight style, they can still match that and do really well. But okay, so we're going to move on Geek to the next stage. So here it is. Two teams have been knocked out in day number 1. It's Dewa and RBL in Arashi's prediction. And you know what? Let's start with match 4. Let's again, yeah, we're going to save RQ match for later, especially for you, man. Onyx versus BTR. I think I already know the answer.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like there's so many things I want to talk about, right? So I'm trying to break it down. I just get lost in like these topics. But yes, I think there's no surprise. I'm gonna put Onyx here moving forward.
Way ahead of
Man,
you.
you have to wonder, right? Like if Bigatron does make it past Rebellion, they must have shaped up so much. And they were able to actually put up quite a good of a fight against Onyx, right?
Yeah.
When they met up
They
during
did.
the regular season. The score is where it gets confusing here. Oh boy.
What's it going to be?
It's a bit of a cop out, right? It's a bit of a predictable kind of, but I think it's a 3-1.
3-1. Oh, so wait, this is already something different, right? Because in both of the legs where they played against each other in the regular season, and even in Snapdragon Grand Finals, BTR have 0 game victories against Onyx. So this is going to be their first ever game win since what? Since since season 11. Since season 11, their first game win against Onyx, if this actually does happen. So there you go. All right. I thought you would definitely go for like a 3-0 here, but hey, respect to you, my guy. 3-1 loss. All right. Cool.
Again, with time to prepare, I think they must have done something. The concern is that will they have to pull out all the stops against Rebellion? See, if Rebellion pushes them to a full 3-2, I think they're going to be forced to expose some of their strategies. And doing that right before you go up against Onyx, that's got to be a tough one. But I think they're going to have some kind of surprise, right, going in.
Yep.
And I think Onyx themselves would want to try something out. I think it's not beyond imagination for Bigatron to actually get 1 point. But I think the rest are going to be very, very dominant from Onyx for sure.
Okay. I think for a lot of people as well, I've seen so many comments saying, I think MPL ID is very entertaining except for Onyx matches, which I think based on the past season and even the regular season, it's quite understandable. So let's get to the actual fun match, guys. Match 3. This should be the match that everybody is like really looking out for, right? Because no one really knows if Geek Fam can do it, or if Geek Fam will choke like they usually do in the playoffs, or like they did in season 11, or if RRQ will be the ones choking, because they've had a rocky like performance towards the later half of the season, even swapping Dyren and Lemon in for their final match. And that just shows to me and a lot of fans that maybe they're starting to also doubt who their main roster really is, right, Arashi? Towards the later stage of the season, that's quite scary. Very scary. And for Geek, they know who their main roster is. They know how to play this meta as well. Meanwhile, Naomi has been also pretty vocal of saying that he doesn't like this new meta. He doesn't like the healers. He likes his flashy heroes, those initiators still. And I think that's something definitely that Arashi will consider when he goes for this prediction. Okay, Arashi, take going. What do you want? Who do you think wins here? Like, despite you wearing the RQ jersey, tell me your honest feelings based on the playstyles.
Yeah, the roamer change, the roamer meta change definitely is a conversation point for sure. I think that's one of the biggest things that's an issue, right? The whole early stage of the season, it's all about those pickoffs, right? It's all about how well can your roamer find holes in the defense, right? Be unpredictable. And Naomi is so good at doing that. But yeah, especially with RRQ just being very default. We keep talking about this in the regular season as well. They have the same bans. They have a very similar pick and draft every single game. I think that's why Geek Fam is just so good against them, right? They can find these solutions, especially with, as we already mentioned, so many more tools popping up in the meta. You want some peel tools, some engage tools, whatever you want. There seems to be enough in the bowl right now that even if a lot of it gets banned out, there's going to be something left, right? It's all about picking your poison here. If you're talking about healers, you ban the Angelas, the Raphael, the Matilda, then, something will be left out. There's no way that everything gets banned away. So that being said, I think with the performance, if you're just looking at the data, I think Geek Fam takes it.
Ooh.
But I do think that towards the end of the season, RRQ, they've wisened up in the drafting phase. We saw them adapting more, not only banning away the Joys, the Fannies, the same old. And I think that's a good sign, right? And the roster part, some people are thinking it's great. It's a secret weapon kind of deal. They can do the same. They can be as dominant with both rosters. I think that's not exactly the case, right? I don't think any of us are fans of just a constant switch up.
Okay.
I mean, if you're going to switch it out now, go for it continuously, but switching in and out just breeds inconsistencies in the synergy, etc. So I think if you are reading into what the teams are going to do, I feel like with time, Geek Fam is already good at what they can do with time, as in reading data, right? There's this whole like shadow analyst looming behind them as well, right?
Yeah.
They've already been so good at reading out your team and your playstyle. I think more time doesn't exactly lend itself to Geek Fam's victory. So I think if you predict what they can do with the time they're given, I really think RRQ can come out on top. I think that's what I'm going to go with, right? RRQ is going to win it.
Okay.
Yes, I'm gonna not biased. I do think if they do have the improvements and they take this time to really learn their opposition and find solutions to these walls they have faced in the regular season, they will come out on top. That's a big if, though, right? To be completely fair. The score, though, is where it gets confusing, right?
It really, I mean, for me, well, I'll tell you my prediction later, but I really hope we get a 3-2. You know, I really hope we get to see all 5 games in this series, because these two teams are always just very entertaining to watch, especially when they go up against one another. Even in the regular season, we saw a very entertaining series.
Yeah, so I was confused because of the way it works, right? It's like execution against strategy,
Okay.
right? So essentially, I mean, whoever comes out on top in that like clash, I feel like it's a very hard recovery route, right? If you lose out because like, oh, your strategy is broken through execution, it's very difficult to just re-strategize and find a way to beat it, and vice versa, right? Oh, your execution isn't good enough to go against the flexibility and the changes and the counters that GeekFam can bring through. You can't just like, this ain't an anime, you know? You can't just out of nowhere get a flashback and just break through and just win. So I think it's gonna be a 3-2.
3-2.
Despite all that, I feel like it's gonna be a 3-2. That's a very, very big like gut feeling thing, but I think it's possible. This is not just wishful thinking, so I'm gonna go with 3-2.
Okay, there you
I am
go.
very scared about this matchup, though. I'll be real.
Yeah, I think all the RQ fans are very scared about this matchup. I think I mean, to be fair, not discrediting Dewa, but I think most RQ fans would love it for Dewa to make it to the next stage and not Geek. Because I think, especially considering Geek has, you know, playoff experience, they're definitely going to come into this playoff much more ready than they were last season, where, you know, Evos were able to reverse sweep them. So there you go. Geek going down to the lower brackets. And, you know, I got to be honest with you, seeing Geek here with BTR, yeah, that's pretty. I'm pretty nervous myself here. But there you go. We have top 4. We have our top 4 of MPL Indonesia. RQ Onyx, Geek, BTR. Let's start with Geek BTR first, Arashi. Yeah, just let me know, Geek or BTR. Who do you got? Who do you got?
Right. I feel like Geek and BTR are actually very similar. Right. When it comes to their MO, like how they operate as a team, I feel like it's very similar. Good, intelligent drafting phase, and then great, clean executions. But I think GeekFam is just more flexible, more adaptive. They're willing to take crazier risks in the late game that I think Bigatron sometimes struggles with. But Bigatron has shown improvement in that department too. So I think my thought process is, if Bigatron has made it this far, if they're able to beat Rebellion, right? I feel like they must have improved enough to be able to beat Geek. See what I mean?
Okay.
I feel like that Bigatron prediction in the beginning kind of ties my hands in like who should win here. Oh boy.
This one's tough. I think for this one, you just got to rely on your instincts, Arashi. Geek or BTR. Like, there's no explaining at this point, right? It's two very good teams going up against one another. And it's a knockout match. Big stakes, big pressure for both these teams. And unfortunately for both these teams, based on the track record that they have, they don't do too well under pressure, right? Day number 1, both knocked out in the first day of Season 11 playoffs.
I think a big factor here as well, by the way, is the fact that the patch notes came in really clutch. And I think no one can argue that it is heavily in favor of Geek.
Yep.
Not just in favor of Rome players. No, for Geek in particular with Baloyski.
Yeah.
Man, I think they got a huge head start because of it. Which means that with 2 weeks to prepare, etc., a lot of teams are gonna know how to deal with that, right? Find some ways. If especially if they've been scrimming, which I imagine they are. Gotta be scrimming a lot here. I think again, I always end up going with gut instinct, even though I'm an analyst. That's a bit counterintuitive. But I think I go with Bigatron here.
Wait, what? Do you hype Geek Fam up all for that? I copied Geek Fam already because I thought you were gonna answer. This guy just subverted my expectations. He just fucking juked me, chat. Okay. Wow, BTR. What's the main factor? Like, after saying all that, like Geek having the meta that favors them, a 2-week break as well, where they can get better, but also a lot of teams finally understanding how they play. But yeah, Why BTR here?
I think that because of how adept Beloyski is already,
Mm-hmm.
I think when the patch initially hit, GeekFam just was again ahead of the curve, right?
Okay.
So I think the factor here is that there's no new patches, so all these teams I think will have time to prepare because
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
now, well, they've seen the power of the Rome heroes. They've seen how Beloyski can do it, what his tendencies are, and yeah, I think a lot of teams are looking at Beloyski, right? Even in the caster desk, we're all saying, "Oh man, Beloyski's gonna kill it with this patch." There's no way the other analysts, the coaches of these teams, don't have the same idea. So I think because of that, the more time passes after the patch, the more Beloyski doesn't really favor from it. That's why I was
Okay.
bringing up all this uh, Geek Fam ahead of the curve, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because of course initially they are ahead, but in the long run, the longer the race goes, I think Bigatron can pull it off. It's a big maybe though. I
Big
won't say it's
maybe.
definite. So which
So
is why I'm concerned
score?
about the score as well. Uh,
What's it gonna be,
3-2.
Arashi? 3-2. There you go. Ooh. Yeah. I mean,
And
might as well call this Mirko's prediction.
hey, is it?
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to go exactly the way that, it's going for you, but there you go. BTR moving on to top 3. So we weren't that wrong about, the predictions. If this actually happens, right? Because again, yeah, BTR did have a big slump in the season. A lot of people lost faith in BTR, but hey, so far for Arashi, it seems like they have regained his faith back again, top 3, and now it's RQ and Onyx, right? So let's get to that match first because we need to
Before
see
that
the
though,
conclusion of that. Arashi, RQ, or Onyx?
but before that, just saying,
Huh?
Bigatron also we saw a huge like improvement in the final few games of the
True.
season, by the
True.
way. So that also plays into how this breaks out. And I think final words for that matchup, Geek Fan Bigatron, you're gonna see, I think, a huge like what do you want to call it? Like a drift.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we see like 3 games, let's say, with a lot of like healers, etc. I think towards the late stage, there's gonna be a huge like flip. I think with the way both these teams play, there's gonna be a point where they're like, man, this isn't working. We're doing similar things. We need to do something crazy, something completely out of the box. I think we're gonna see a moment like that in this matchup. Yes. So moving on to Arakionic.
Yep. Royal Derby.
Uh man. The thing is, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we go with the data, every time there's this kind of situation, RRQ always comes out on top initially, and then they lose steam in the grand finals. I think we've seen that multiple times.
Season
Uh,
9. Season 8. Season 9, yeah. And season 10,
Eight.
I believe.
Wait, was season 8 not that as well?
Season 8, Onyx were the ones dropped down to lower. Oh, yeah, season 8 and season 10, actually. Yeah, season 8 and 10.
Oh, no, but Onyx did got dropped down first, huh?
Yeah, both. In season 8 and 10, Onyx were
Oh,
dropped
yes,
down, and then they win in the
exactly.
grand finals. Uh-huh.
Lower bracket meta, which is why we always talked about how Onyx is just such a late game team. The longer the day goes, the stronger Onyx becomes.
And the loss just wakes them up, man. It wakes the beast in them.
And which is why a lot of teams always say like, "Oh, I think this is intentional," because it happens way too regularly.
Yeah.
But the current Onyx, I think the current Onyx just goes for straight domination. I think again, if we go with data, with numbers, I think Araki should win here. But
Ooh.
with gut feeling, with what, yeah, again with just feeling and instinct, I think actually the current roster, Onyx gonna drop our RQ here. I think
So Onyx to grand finals.
yes.
First slot of M5 confirmed, and I think a very
Wow,
predictable
so
one.
surprising.
A very
Wow,
predictable
Onyx
one.
really? Wow.
I think what's not predictable is the score. Arashi, what do you think is going to happen here? Do you think Onyx gets it done easily against your team, or do you think RQ will have a good fight here against RQ?
I think RQ will have. It's hard to imagine anything out of like anything aside from dominance from Onyx, man. This is the crazy part. I think RQ takes 1 game.
Ooh,
Onyx sweeps it.
that's an interesting one, right? Because again, for the past last season's playoffs, it was a full 3-0 for Onyx. So RQ getting a game here and even BTR getting a game here. So it seems like, the teams are finally catching up at least, right? To Onyx, they're getting some games in. Okay, I like that. I like that. Very, very cool. But that does mean that RQ will be put in a very, very scary spot here in the lower brackets. Maybe not too scary considering RQ versus BTR, the match history of this, being mostly RQ winning and, BTR being the testing or experimental rabbits of RQ. But okay, this is going to be big, right? I mean, you're an RQ fan. I'm a BTR fan. Either way, one of us will have to say bye-bye. One of us will have to go to M5. In your prediction, who's going to get it done, Arashi? Will you go against your team in predictions here?
Well, hey, if you look at my preseason predictions, top two teams is Onyx and RRQ, man. So I think you're going home, buddy.
Boom! This is the fastest one, the fastest, prediction from Arashi. We had like a lot of explanations earlier on, but for this matchup, boom, BTR gone. All right, so RQ just the better team overall. Is that it, Arashi? Is that why you made such an instant, decision, prediction?
The matchup deal as well. I think Bigotron just never really does well against a team like RRQ, like RRQ-esque teams. Team with a decent amount of intelligence in the drafts and the strategies, right? But then going all in and just bewildering them in the execution. I think, again, Bigotron just seems to get lost. Again, we see them improve a bit towards the end of the season, but I think it's the same idea. I don't know if it's inexperience. I don't know if it's over-reliance on drafts and setup. But when they lose control hard. And RRQ is all about that, right? I do hope, by the way, that when these games come through, I'm not sure if RRQ is going to go into that support meta, by the way. I think they might just end up going with their strengths because
I agree
on
with that.
paper, technically, the counter to all these roamers is actually like aggression as well. If you can pick off the prior heroes already before the roamer can do anything, I think that's a valid way of dealing with these support heavy compositions. So I think RRQ can still definitely pull it off. And all these predictions are with that in mind, right? If they try and put Naomi as this, like, the ambulance,
healer?
right? The healer, I don't think they're going to do as well.
Okay.
Gut feeling. I think it's a 3-1.
Okay. We have a lot of 3-1s.
Now, we used to have a lot of 3-0s, right?
Yep.
But I think it's reflected in the season right now, right? All these games are just so close, so intense.
Agreed.
I think the standard, right? The bar has been raised so high. There's no way in the playoffs there's going to be like a 3-0.
Agreed.
If there is, I'll be very surprised. But I think it makes sense to assume that the most dominant performances will still be like a 3-1, right? That's just how I see it.
Okay, there you go. 3-1, 0 clean sweep so far, but it might hurt Arashi the most here because the clean sweep might actually happen in the grand finals. In his prediction, in his own prediction, again, no bias here, guys. It will just be Arashi telling us his real opinions. And Onyx, RQ, the grand finals that we've seen a bit too much from MPL Indonesia, but it's fine as long as both of the teams, if they make it here, they completely deserve it. They beat everyone to get here. And Arashi, it's time to decide who is the first seed who's going to go to M5 as the Indonesian champions.
All right. This one's pretty straightforward. I think no one's asking questions. RRQ clean sweep. Just kidding.
You got me. You got me for a second there. I think you got most of the viewers as well.
Dude, imagine, right? The audacity. RRQ clean sweep.
Well, I mean, it is a prediction, right? I mean, anything can go.
Yeah, but I think that's a very
It's a reach. It's a reach.
Massive reach. I think it's Onyx, definitely Onyx. But again, I think with how close things are, I think there's no way I don't think it's a clean sweep. There has to be at least one game. I think with how the playoffs have this effect of just like developing, improving teams by throwing them into, it's like trial by fire, right? You just get hurled into the danger zone. And now with the pressure, with everything, a lot of teams really improve significantly, right? It's a different environment, technically. There's a chance, I think, of a 4-2, but
Ooh.
I think it's gonna be a 4-1. If it's a 4-2, I'm gonna be pleasantly surprised, but I think it's a
Wow.
4-1.
4-1. So it's literally a repeat of season 10, Arashi. 4-1 grand
Don't say
finals. Onyx won
that.
against RQ with this exact stat line, 4-1. And RQ will be second place, but it's fine. If this happens, RQ will be the only team in history to make it to all of the M World Championships as a representative. Because Todak, they had that record with RQ. Unfortunately, they lost just earlier.
O-line.
Last week, yeah, they got knocked out, and now it just leaves RQ. RQ is the only team who can actually be the team with that title, right? The participants of World Champion. Unfortunately, they haven't won it just yet,
The regular.
Rashi. But they're regulars. They are regular customers of the World Championships. And this is it, ladies and gentlemen. In the comment section down below, you can tell us now if you guys like Arashi's prediction, if you guys think it's, if it's good, if you guys think it's dog shit, go and comment your prediction, nerd, because we want to see your garbage prediction as well. I'm joking. Not garbage. It's a joke, guys. It's a joke. Let me just save this real quick, and then we will move on to my prediction. Arashi prediction here. Just going to save it to send it over to Arashi in case he wants to, post it in his story or anything. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool that we're gonna have that. And now let's change it to Mirko's prediction. Okay.
I'm quite interested, by the way, because I think compared to a lot of casters, I feel like Mirko is one of the casters who has a lot of insight from.
Yep, got it.
Yeah, you have a lot of insight from players and coaches because you're a social guy. That's no secret. I think Mirko actually has a lot more, whispers of information from the players and coaches themselves. Personal opinion.
I'll have to say that I think that is true, right? I have I am close with a lot of the coaches, and I do ask them a lot about what's happening right now. What do you think, etc. But usually it doesn't really help me, Arashi. What I learn through their scrims, through even the way that they are feeling right now, it doesn't matter at all. RQ were doing really good at M3 scrim wise. They were the best team in scrims. They lost. Things like that have happened countless times. BTR season 11 just last year, right? I mean last season, they were looking really good. They were performing really well in scrims as well. Everybody was hyping them up to be, hey, BTR Onyx. These are the teams that are going to really pop off. Nope. Geek Fam. Teams are going to really pop off, going to win. Reverse swept. So scrims sometimes are a bit deceiving, I would say. And I think right now, with that information, we'll just have to see. Is it go? Is it? I think at this point, I believe the crazy MIRKURSE allegations. I am never going to be able to argue against the MIRKURSE allegations. So let's just get straight into it. I'm just gonna be decisive. I'm just gonna tell you guys what's gonna happen in case you want to get all the points you want in the prediction thing, the MPL guess. All right, because usually what I predict is wrong. That's what I'm aiming for as well. So.
You are?
Let's see.
Wait,
well,
so
I'm joking. This is
applies
no. Well, if I wanted to apply, it doesn't apply. So I do not want it to apply. This is my genuine opinion.
See.
And let's start with match one.
Okay.
I think for this one, I will have to say I'm gonna have to go with Geek quite easily. Actually, I think it's gonna be a 3-1 or even a 3-0 here because it's Dewa United's first time in the playoffs. It's completely different in the playoffs. They're a new team. They have proved in the regular season they can compete. Similarly to Super Ken and Saken, season 11, they were really good when they were promoted up to the MPL. They were dominating a lot of the veterans. But when it came down to the playoffs, it was a different feel completely. The pressure, the displaying on stage there when you see 1,000 people, more than 1,000 people, maybe thousands of people watching you, cheering for the other team, and especially when you're up against a team as smart, as volatile and adaptive as Geek Fam as well, that will certainly hurt their systematic playstyle. And even Watt, their X Factor, he's been an X Factor in every single season of whatever he plays, MPL or MDL. Even in MDL, he was the X Factor, but it's almost like a curse where he can carry, but in a lot of these big stake situation, the high points, except for season 1, I would say, his team gets outplayed a bit too much, and he isn't able to get to that point. It's unfortunate for Watt, but I'll have to say, you know what? I'm gonna make it a bit spicier. I really want to say 3-0, but I'm not really understanding why Arashi kept on going 3-1, right? Because, again, regular season was so close amongst all these teams. The fact that it is even a 3-1 is already impressive, in my opinion. So, all right, we're just going to go for a 3-1. Geek Fam moves to the next stage of playoffs, and we'll move on to match 2, BTR versus RBL. All right, before I predict this, specifically, the CEO of Bigatron has asked me to not predict Bigatron.
I see. Okay.
So I will just say this. If you're watching this, Coed, I will not predict Bigatron on stage, but for here, this match, we'll see. What will I predict? Rebellion, great team. Very high potential, but also very bombastic. Since we don't have the other bombastic, we'll talk about this bombastic.
Bombastic.
The Matador, ODTZ, he's the guy who really shines. He's the guy who really elevates the team. He's the guy who leads the team as a roamer. But unfortunately, he is a very one-dimensional roamer. Not to say that he's not good on different heroes. He's still very good, even on the healers. I'm not saying he's garbage or he's bad or he's the reason the team loses, but his team is the reason the team loses. ODTZ can play well on the supportive roamers, but the team oversteps. Highs. Many moments, especially when Audi gets this kind of pick, these pickoff picks. Highs perform super well because the Matador is just flailing the red sheet all around, and Highs just needs to follow through, right? He just needs to follow the red, just like a raging bull, which he is in this context. But when he's on a healer, he doesn't have that red sheet. It's almost like a blue sheet because Highs is, and well, technically all the other bulls, all the team, they don't know where to go. They don't have a leader. And this is something that's very easily exploited, in my opinion. And that's why I have to give it to Bigatron as well here for this matchup. Because for BTR, they're a team that likes to download their opponents. They like to read out draft as well, and they really study. Not to say the Rebellion doesn't do that, because they certainly do. But in this situation, I think the changes of roster, the very crazy, volatile changes, sporadic changes in the regular season with the different lineups for BTR will actually help them in this matchup against RBL, because RBL will not know who's going to be playing. Is it actually going to be Vin? Is it going to be Key? Is it going to be Moreno? Heck, I don't even know, right? So that's something the Rebellion will have. That's a problem for them. Meanwhile, for BTR, they know it's definitely going to be Audi. Who else is going to play? Chico? No, right? And they have proper answers. Every team who have won against Rebellion have been able to do exactly that. Ban out the pick-off heroes and leave Audi on other heroes that he's not comfortable with. And I think if that happens, if they are truly able to outdraft Rebellion that hard, I think it's going to be 3-0. That's
all right.
Yeah, it's a bold claim. I think a very bold claim.
We talked about the changes. If you have multiple players in your roster, it might not be good because of the synergy, etc.
Yep.
What do you think about Bigatron, man? Because they actually switch in and out more often so than these other teams with other rosters. Do you think this is part of their strength now, or is it still a bit of a concern for you as a Bigatron fan?
I think it's a very big concern to me as a Bigatron fan, definitely. I mean, Rebellion are so solid, and teams who usually stick to their rosters do really well because they can fix those issues. But based on what we've seen, especially from the players who've been in this roster for a while now, like Highs, the improvement has been very, very slow. I think for Vincent, it's been good. For KURSE, it's been amazing. But for Highs, he's been stagnant from season 10, I would say. Season 10, he has like glimpses of those like crazy plays. Season 11, the same. Season 12, the same. Very high mechanics, but his decision-making sometimes is very off. It feels like, again, they really need that Matador. They really need that leader figure. And if the leader figure can't open up the map, can't be aggressive, it just doesn't work. The system doesn't work. Yeah, it gets really tough. So for this matchup particularly, I will say it is a concern, the roster changes, but not as much against Rebellion, because it actually might help them with the draft and how Rebellion will prepare against them. All right, I'm going to go for match 3 first, since Arashi went for match 4 first. This is where our opinions might actually differ.
Yeah.
RQ, 2 lineups. Very different lineups as well. One very aggressive, one very systematic, I would say. With Clay and Banana, it's a systematic one. With Dyron and Lemon, it's a bit more unpredictable. Unfortunately for me, both of these compositions still aren't on the same level as Geek Fam. Why? I would say mostly because, yeah, the new patch has impacted. I will not say will impact, because it has impacted a lot already in the last 2 weeks of the regular season. With the additional 2 weeks here, for you, your point was Geek Fam. 2 weeks, a lot of teams will be able to read what makes them strong. I think in 2 weeks, Geek Fam will learn new things that make them strong here in the meta, you know, because again, it's not just like we have two good healers. No, it's not just Rafaela, it's not just Matilda. We still have the Florin, we still have the Edith as well that Beloyski still plays really well, and even the Kaja. A lot of people might be overseeing this. A lot of people might be saying, you know, man, Geek Fam, you know, Beloyski's got on the healers, but that's it. And they completely forget what made him special before, you know? The Francos, the Kajas, the pick-off strat that, again, you said as well that RQ could implement to beat that healer strategy. And I think if they can deny that away from RQ, make RQ sweat, or even make RQ play those healers because of the deny, it's going to be really tough, especially considering as well,
That's true.
looking at drafts, aside from their last match against Dewa, the only thing you can really nitpick about this roster was the fact that their drafts were template. It's Joy and Fanny almost every match. The picks are very, very easy to read. Not to say it's a bad thing, because it has worked for them, and that's their way of playing. Blacklist has a similar way of playing where they will pick the same heroes over and over again. It doesn't matter, because that's their strategy. That's how they win. But in the playoffs, it's going to be different, right? I don't think it's going to go as smooth for them, especially up against Geek Fam, who at this point, I don't know why, just kind of has their number. Geek Fam will win this, but it's not going to be close. Sorry, it's not going to be a stomp. Sorry, Arashi. It's not going to be a stomp. I don't think it's going to be 3-0. I think it's going to be... If it's 3-1, it's going to be very close, but I will give RQ the benefit of the doubt here. I think they will also improve a lot from what they showed us in the match against Dewa, because, again, it was a win, Arashi, but you have to agree as well that it was a very shaky win against Dewa. It wasn't as convincing as a lot of fans, RQ fans, and a lot of the RQ fans would have expected. Even I didn't expect them to lose that second game. And it goes to show you, when the enemy team gets a draft that can work against the systematic or aggressive playstyle, they have the better time. So, Geek Fam, moving on to the next stage of the playoffs. And this will be history, by the way. This will be history in the making for Geek Fam. They will have... making it past the first stage will already be history, because that's the first time ever for Geek Fam, this organization. If they can make it to top 4 guaranteed here with a win over RQ, big win for the org. Finally getting some, you know, like getting an achievement under their belt. But for Onyx BTR, I'm sorry, this one... You know, I gotta be completely objective here, and even though I'm a BTR fan, I don't think I'm that deluded to say that BTR has a chance even. I think this is going to be a 3-0 stomp. Just like we saw in Snapdragon, just like we saw in Season 11, or no, we didn't even see that in Season 11, but in the regular season as well. Onyx just know how to beat kiting compositions, know how to beat compositions, any composition. And for BTR... I think, unfortunately, it's not to hate on the player, but I'll have to agree with a lot of the criticisms sent by most pro players, most analysts as well. The big weak point for BTR has always been their gold lane, because their gold lane has only ever been weak side gold laners, you know? Saken was a weak side gold laner. Not to say that it's bad, but gold laners have a very special place in this meta now, especially now that the healers are number 1. You need to have that constant DPS. You need to have that carry in the gold lane. And for BTR, their strategy has been very, very reliant on trio mid, that they have kind of forgotten a lot of their gold lane presence that they need in the game, and they always draft for these weak side laners. If this continues, if they don't improve, this is what's going to happen, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a 3-0. But if they do improve, I think it might be a 3-1, maximum of 3-2. Unfortunately, it's going to be maximum 3-2, I think. Big copium if I were to say that they can actually win against Onyx. But on the other hand, against RQ, Arashi, you know, I think what?
It's kind of funny, right?
Uh-huh.
My predictions are always like, hey, this is what's supposed to happen, but if you consider there's 2 weeks and teams are gonna be, you were assuming what they're gonna do. I'm assuming that teams are gonna have massive improvements and it's gonna be completely different. All your predictions so far, just saying, has always been like, if they do improve, it's gonna be different. But I think that it's gonna be like this. It's still gonna be what we saw last from the end of the season. So I think that's very funny.
Yeah.
Like we're counter positions.
Different perspectives there, right? I mean, in play. And I think it makes for a great video, right? Because again, the conflicting one, and then now you guys can say, "Oh, Arashi's got the better prediction. This guy's dog shit right here." Or you could also just say, wait, Mirko makes sense, and then you will watch the match, and then they'll lose, and then you can spam MIRKURSE, okay? But until that happens, just give me some props. RQ, BTR.
All right, here you go. I'm excited about this one.
For RQ, my main observation would be the guy to really exploit would be Fiersick. Not to say that he's weak, because he's not weak. He's just been given a lot of the template heroes. He's been given a lot of the utility heroes, and for a lot of the people watching as well, the general consensus is Fiersick's the problem. He sometimes overextends. He puts himself in very weird positions, and his utility is not actually that good. His hero pool, when you ban out the Fredrin, the Martis, right? The Baxia. What does he go for? He goes for Grok in the jungle. It goes for Lancelot. He goes for Ling. We only saw the Lancelot Ling once. The Grok is something that we've seen twice, so it is something that he's probably comfortable with playing on stage, but it just didn't work so the second time around. That's something that BTR has over RQ, I would say. The jungler and the trio mid that can work around that jungler, right? Mechanically, Naomi is amazing as well. Key is amazing. This is why I'm really conflicted as well. Which roster is going to come out for BTR against RQ? Are they going to utilize Vin finally because Vin knows the inner workings of this team? Are they going to still use Key? They have the tools here. It just comes down to how both these teams execute it. Maybe RQ are already a very different team to the team that played last season with Albert and Vin, but there's still definitely got to be something. The play style from Skylar, from the past teammates. For Vin, right? He could just be in the back, actually. He might not want to play. He just can give out information on what RQ is going to pick, blah, blah, and that's going to help them. But again, I've said this even in Jonathan Liandi's Empet Talk. I think the best gold laner in Indonesia is Skylar right now. And I think the gold lane has a very, very, very crucial position in this meta. And for that, I will have to say that RQ will take this, right? They play kind of like Blacklist. We've drawn comparisons and similarities between these two before. And I think they play that way because they know they have a solid carry already. Why try to risk and try to go for anything crazy when you already have a great gold laner in play who can actually just carry the game single-handedly? Just give him the resources. But I will say, I think it's going to be 3-2 because of that. Because BTR will definitely be working hard with Vin to dissect this composition. And template. If they don't fix that Arashi, it actually might change. Again, BTR can get 3-2. If Shiva suddenly becomes God, right? And then outlanes Skylar or beats Skylar, that's crazy. Something that is it's a reach. So that's why we'll go with RQ winning first here, because on paper, it does feel a bit more... It does make more sense, considering BTR's shaky performance as well. So, what's up?
Right. So, Bigatron, especially with Super Ken in the jungle, he's an insane assassin player. And now you're saying that for RQ, a bit of the tip of their spear is to that gold lane.
Yep.
You think that dynamic is going to come in strong in this matchup or no?
I think so.
RQ is going to try and shut down the assassins here just to ensure that Skylar has some breathing room to actually carry the game, especially in those late stages.
For sure. Definitely. I think they're definitely going to be banning out that Fanny. Well, it is something that they go for anyways, right? Fanny and Joy, whoever it is. But yeah, the assassins will be crucial here for RQ. More so than it is for BTR, because they got to ban it out. They got to make it systematic. And again, it's kind of conflicting as well, because I don't know if RQ are even going to use the Banana Clay lineup. Maybe it's Dire and Lemon. Maybe it's just completely different. See, this is why there's so many questions in this season. all except for Onyx. I think there is no question for Onyx, and that's why I will just put Geek Fam right here instantly. I don't think this is.
Dang.
I think
That was
for
fast.
Onyx are on a different level. Unless they choke, they will not lose. And the only way they lose is if they choke. The players get too comfortable. That's something that I've been asking for a while now. Like, oh, well, that's maybe the only weakness that Onyx have is their players might be a bit too happy, a bit too confident now that they've won everything. But so far it's all good. So far there's no real proof of that. They are a team, a very rare team that always strives to be better, and they thrive under the pressure. And being number one has actually lifted them a lot. This one
Score though.
score 3-0.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, the thing about Beloy, what makes him special, Yeb knows it, man. Yeb knows his game. And for Geek Fam, oh, sorry, that's the wrong team to give.
Whoa, 3-0.
Whoa!
Screenshot that, post it on social media.
That would be funny if they just take it out of context and they say, "Yo, Mirko predicted this." Mirko 100%. But yeah, for Onyx, they have so many different play styles. For Geek, I only see 2. For Onyx, anything can go. They can try to counter Geek however they please. Geek Fam bans assassins. They go utility. They play carry gold lane, carry Sans. For Geek, it has to be Chidera, a boy. Everybody has to be in, they all have to be in form. They all have to have their picks. And I don't think it's that easy to say against Yeb. To try to outdraft Yeb, to try to out execute the rest of the team after outdrafting Yeb and Adi, tough. So, Geek Fam, down. And now, this is it, Arashi.
Rematch.
This is was your prediction? Did you say BTR won against Geek? Yeah, you did, right?
Wait a minute.
I forgot as well.
I think so.
Yeah, you did, Arashi. Okay,
What did you check?
I checked it earlier. I just checked
Alright.
if you predicted BTR to win against Geek. RQ versus Geek, dude. Oh my god. I'm not even gonna give you a reason for this, okay? Like an explanation. I'm just gonna do it.
Oh. He's trying to get me back.
He's trying to get me. I know. Geek Fam to M5. First
That would be
time.
so crazy.
First time in the org's history. I think.
That would be crazy.
I think on paper, if I were to make a tier list as well, I would actually put Onyx and Geek Fam. Onyx number 1, Geek Fam number 2. Geek Fam, I would say it's kind of strange because against a lot of the aggressive and sporadic teams in Indo, the aggressive ones that just look to fight, they're really bad against them. I mean, like it's like Dewa, alter ego as well, right? But when they're up against teams who they have a proper read on, they're really good. I think I've said this as well on my streams that Geek Fam is an actual threat to the teams internationally as well, mainly the Filipino teams. Because they're so weird with it. They're so volatile. They're so crazy with it. They're also very adaptive. And I don't know, their players seem to they do well against big teams, They have a buff whenever they go up against big teams. They look up and they say, I'm a Titan Slayer. I want to try to, I have this, I have more motivation than I do against the other teams. And against RQ, the 2 times in the regular season, especially in the second leg, it was so convincing. Very convincing win for them. But I will say, just like in the upper brackets, it's going to be 3-2. At this point in the top 3, it is anyone's game. I think in the top 4, it is anyone's game. Everybody here in the top 4, this is the best in the league, except for Onyx. Yeah, we don't talk about that guy. Geek, RQ, BTR, very tough, especially in playoff setting. the only way I see RQ winning this is Skylar. Again.
Man, you put a lot of emphasis on Skylar, huh?
That's why I still feel like even then I'm thinking about Skylar, thinking about like if he can carry this, Chidera can match him, bro. That's the problem. He might not be as good mechanically. He might not be as much of a dog as Skylar, maybe as like a 1v5 carry, but he can match Skylar. If you can match Skylar, RQ have a problem. We've seen that before. We've seen that in all Geek Fam's games against RQ.
Season 8 as well, by the way. I keep going back to that because it was such a huge moment. But yeah, in that game is a similar story, right? The gold lane didn't go as planned. Immediately, just confusion. Ugh.
But there you go.
By the way, you put Skylar on top. Who's the next two below Skylar? Just wondering.
In the world? Or in Indo?
Well, I guess we're talking Indo for now.
For Indo, I'd actually put... I'll still have to say CW, man. I gotta rate him. And then CW, and then Chidera. But individually, I will say actually, individually, Skylar, and then maybe Watt, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The legend.
The legend himself.
The old guard.
Okay, it's time for the finals, Arashi. It's time to see who becomes first seed.
Are you gonna go big?
Is this it, Arashi? It's not.
Is it? Nah, dude.
You know what?
I don't think anyone was buying it.
I mean, realistically, this is for the finals. At this point, I think everybody guys, it's not even a prediction. When it's an Onyx match, it's not even a prediction. This is what I would hope to happen. I hope that Geek Fam actually reads Onyx, gives us a match similar to MPL Live Grand Finals, if you remember. Winning the first 2 games maybe against Onyx, and then it'll create a shock. It's like, holy shit, yo, Geek Fam are doing it. But then Onyx just comes back. Realistically, I would expect just Onyx to stomp because they're not the type of team to really troll, to experiment, especially in the grand finals anymore. We saw that in season 11 as well. They were saving a lot of strats in the regular season, despite winning everything. Goes to show you how much stronger they are. But yeah, realistically, 4-2 is more of a, hopefully this happens, more entertainment, fun finals, because this ain't fun. This ain't gonna be fun for Geek Fam, realistically. Unless, they make some crazy changes. But this is it, guys. This is Mirko's prediction. Let me know in the comment section as well if you guys agree with my prediction or not. You might say, Mirko, you have a dog shit prediction. It's okay. If you think it's dog shit, tell me your dog shit opinion as well, nerd, in the comment section down below. All right? What makes you think you have a better prediction than me and Arashi? Tell us in the comments. And when you win, if you win, or if you have better prediction, then you're right. We have dog shit predictions, and you're better. Or maybe I could just take the convenient route. It's the MIRKURSE, nerd. I was planning it all along. I never wanted Onyx and Geek to go to M5. It's all been BTR and RQ. God did. I'm joking. Okay, that was the plot twist.
You good? You good?
I'm good. God did indeed. But yeah, Arashi, any final notes to send over to the viewers here before we end the video?
I mean, don't miss it, man. Tune in. This is one of the most volatile seasons of MPL. I mean, we said that last season as well, but it just keeps ramping up. It's insane. I think it's definitely worth your time to actually watch it. And believe me, man, watching it after, if you can fit it into your schedule, watching it after is not the same, man. Seeing everything really unfold real time, especially with your boys on the desk, that's a different experience. So don't miss it. Tune in, and we're going to see you there.
Yep. Check out Arashi's socials in the description down below, guys. He has a Twitter, he has a YouTube. Oh, doesn't have a Twitter, actually. He has an Instagram, a YouTube. That's it. That's all he has. But he's not even active on YouTube. He'll get active on YouTube soon enough. But follow him first before he gets active so you get notified. And also, if you guys are new on the channel, subscribe, join the Mirror Cult, because we're going to be uploading a lot of content, mainly vlogs throughout the playoffs. I'm going to be roommates with Arashi right here. And we'll try to do a daily recap discussion live stream if we're not tired. If he's tired, don't worry, we'll still live stream. We don't care if he's tired. We don't give a fuck. Let's go, chat. Let's go, champ. See you guys in playoffs. Boom, bang, bada bing.